Okay. Have you ever felt like you're juggling like a million different versions of yourself? Like there's the you everyone sees, and then the you when you're behind closed doors, and then like the real you, the one that even your closest friends don't even like fully know. Well, on this deep dive, we're unpacking a surprisingly insightful interview
Okay.
with Kim Kardashian
All right.
on JayShetty's podcast, On Purpose. And she breaks down this whole idea of like having these three faces,
Yeah.
and it's so relatable.
It's fascinating how she brings up this concept of authenticity because, like, it makes you wonder, are we ever truly showing our whole selves, right? It's
Yeah.
a question I think we all grapple with, especially, someone with the level of fame that Kim Kardashian has.
So imagine this. Kim Kardashian, the queen of reality TV, right?
Yes.
And like carefully crafted Instagram posts,
Yeah.
is talking about craving to be unseen.
Wow.
Like actually wanting to like disappear sometimes.
Interesting.
Does that surprise you?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, I think, we all wear different masks depending on who we're with and where we are. It's human nature to want to control how other people see us.
Yeah.
Especially someone like her. But it also makes me think about how we all struggle with this idea of authenticity.
Oh, totally.
Especially online. I mean, are we ever really showing our whole selves?
Yeah.
Or are we always curating a certain image? And what does that even mean?
Right.
In a world where everything's so filtered and polished,
Yeah, it's a question we could spend hours unpacking. But what's interesting here is that Kim seems to be grappling with these questions too. She hints at wanting to express herself on a deeper level, a level that goes, beyond the image that she presents to the world.
Yeah, and it reminds me of something she says later in the interview.
Oh, yeah.
About how people are picking and choosing what they want to believe about her.
Oh, my God, yes.
Regardless of what she actually does or says,
Yeah.
It's like there's this disconnect between the image she projects and like the person she actually is.
Yes, 100%. It highlights the limitations of social media, right?
Totally.
It's impossible to, like, fully capture the complexity of a human being in a series of, carefully curated posts.
Right.
And it's easy for people to, like, project their own assumptions and judgments onto those images.
Yeah, absolutely.
So something else that struck me was when Jay Shetty mentions how incredibly compassionate Kim is, like dropping everything to help family. But she also gets really real about the stresses of family life.
Right.
So how does she balance those two things?
That's an interesting question. It seems like her compassion has actually grown with age and experience.
Interesting.
She talks about her work in the justice system,
Yeah.
and how it opened her eyes to the fact that everyone deserves a second chance.
Oh, wow.
And it made her realize how judgmental she used to be.
Yeah.
And that shift in perspective seems to have, like, influenced her whole outlook on life.
It's like that work forced her to, like, confront her own biases and, develop a deeper sense of empathy.
Totally. Yeah, and it seems like that newfound empathy has made her more understanding and forgiving, both of herself and others.
Which makes me think, is that something we can all cultivate? Even if we're not working in the justice system,
It's a great question.
can we actively choose to be less judgmental, more compassionate, even when, life gets messy and stressful?
That's a great question for our listeners to consider, I think.
Yeah.
It's easy to be compassionate when things are going well, right?
Right.
But it's much harder when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But what if, like Kim, we viewed those challenging moments as opportunities to practice empathy, understanding,
Yeah.
even if it's just with ourselves? What if we gave ourselves and those around us, like, a little more grace?
I love that. Now, get this. Kim talks about this major realization she had around 40.
Oh.
Ready for it. Putting her own happiness first actually made everyone around her happier too. Mind-blowing, right?
Yeah, it is kind of counterintuitive because, we're often taught to put others first.
Yes.
Especially as women.
Totally.
But what Kim's highlighting here is that taking care of your own needs isn't selfish. It's actually essential for, like, healthy relationships.
Right.
She talks about letting go of people-pleasing and making decisions based on what truly felt right for her.
It's like she finally gave herself permission to, prioritize her own well-being.
Yeah.
And the universe responded in kind.
And it's a great example of how aligning with your true self can have a ripple effect of positive change.
Right.
It's not about, like, neglecting others.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes, 100%.
We need to take care of ourselves first in order to show up fully for the people we love.
Totally. So let's talk about the realities of parenting for a second. Kim gets brutally honest about the chaos, the tantrums, the nights where nothing goes right. She drops this truth bomb. You're never fully prepared. You just figure it out as you go.
I love that. That's such a refreshing perspective because so often we're bombarded with these images of like perfect parenting,
Right.
which can make us feel like we're failing when things inevitably get messy.
Totally.
But what Kim's emphasizing here is that it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, unsure.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to keep showing up.
Keep learning.
Keep learning, keep loving your kids through it all.
And her biggest takeaway, kids just want your time.
It's simple, but it's so profound.
Right.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the doing of parenting,
Yes.
the schedules, the activities, all this stuff. But what Kim is highlighting here is the importance of just being present with your kids.
And that's a lesson that applies to all our relationships, not just with our children.
It really does, yeah.
It's about putting down our phones, disconnecting from distractions, and truly being present with the people that we love.
Yeah.
It's about listening with our full attention, offering a warm embrace, making those small moments of connection count.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Now, I noticed that Kim seems to really value loyalty and long-standing relationships. She even mentions looking for that quality in, like potential employees.
Interesting.
What do you think is behind that emphasis?
Well, it seems deeply rooted in her family values. She talks about the importance of mutual respect,
Right.
showing up for each other, and again, being present.
It's about building those relationships that are built on a foundation of trust, honesty, unwavering support.
Exactly. And speaking of lasting relationships, let's talk about the one Kim has with material possessions.
Okay.
Because she drops this bombshell after facing multiple wildfires. Her attachment to designer items completely shifted.
Okay, this part blew my mind. So walk us through it. How did those experiences change her perspective on stuff?
So, imagine this. The first time she had to evacuate, she packed up every designer bag and shoe. The second time, she left some behind.
Well, wow.
Third time, all the bags stayed put.
Oh, my God.
By the fourth evacuation, all she cared about was her family and important documents.
Wow. Talk about a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how quickly our priorities can shift when we're faced with, real adversity.
Right.
And suddenly those things that seem so important just, fade away.
It's a stark reminder that in the grand scheme of things, material possessions are ultimately replaceable.
Yeah.
But people aren't.
Right.
And I think that realization has influenced her approach to life in a really profound way.
It definitely seems like it.
Okay.
Shifting gears a bit, Kim's work in justice reform has clearly been a major turning point in her life. Would you say this is where she found her purpose?
It's interesting. She describes it as a chance encounter that became a calling. It's like she stumbled into this work and it ignited something within her.
Oh.
What's really interesting is that it forced her to confront her own judgments,
Okay.
to see the humanity in people that she had previously, dismissed or stereotyped.
It's like that work cracked open her heart and expanded her capacity for empathy.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective seems to have spilled over into other areas of her life. She talks about being less judgmental overall, more understanding, more willing to give people the benefit of the doubt.
That's so inspiring. Now, I know a lot of people are curious about Kim's self-care routine, especially, given her crazy busy life. What does she say about that?
She's actually quite down to earth about it.
Okay.
She doesn't talk about fancy spa treatments or elaborate rituals.
Okay.
For her, it's about finding the small pockets of time in her day
Yeah.
where she can recharge and reconnect with herself.
Like what? Give us the specifics.
Okay, well, she mentions her morning workouts as being her non-negotiable self-care ritual.
Okay.
It's not about getting ripped or, showing off on social media.
Yeah.
It's about being in her zone, moving her body, clearing her head. She says it keeps her sane.
That makes sense. It's about finding that thing that anchors you,
Yeah,
helps you feel centered, even when everything else feels chaotic.
totally. And she also talks about her drive time.
Okay.
After dropping her kids off at school, that's her alone time.
Yeah.
She blasts her music, and she doesn't take any calls.
Good for her.
It's a small window of time, but she fiercely protects it.
I love that. It's a reminder that self-care doesn't have to be this grand, elaborate thing.
Right.
It can be as simple as carving out a few minutes each day to do something that nourishes your soul.
Totally.
Whether that's listening to music, taking a walk in nature, or just like sitting in silence with a cup of tea.
Exactly. It's about prioritizing those small moments of peace and solitude, even amidst the business of life. And those moments can make a world of difference.
They really can. Okay, so we've talked about self-care, but what about the other side of the coin? Mom guilt. Because, let's be real, it's something a lot of parents, especially moms, struggle with.
She's refreshingly honest about it. She admits that she feels it too.
Yeah.
But she also emphasizes the importance of recognizing that you need your own bit of sanity to be the best mom you can be.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask. First, you can't take care of others if you're running on empty.
And it's not selfish. It's actually the opposite. By taking care of our own needs, we're actually better equipped to show up for the people we love.
So how does Kim balance work and motherhood? Because she's clearly a woman who wears many hats.
For her, work is actually part of what keeps her happy and sane. Okay. It's a creative outlet. It challenges her. It allows her to use her talents and platform to make a difference. But when she's home, her focus shifts to being fully present with her kids.
That's so key, isn't it? Finding that balance that works for you and your family. And it sounds like for Kim, being present is a big part of that.
It is.
Whether it's with her kids, her work, or even just herself.
And she even talks about how her kids have been on her law school journey with her. They've seen her struggle.
Yeah.
They've seen her fail. And they've seen her ultimately succeed.
I love that she's showing them what it looks like to pursue your passions, even when it's hard. It's such a powerful lesson in resilience and perseverance.
It is. And it's something we can all learn from, whether we're parents or not. Life is full of challenges, and it's how we choose to face those challenges that ultimately shapes who we become.
Kim obviously lives a very public life. What does she say about navigating that with her kids? Because that can't be easy.
She's very open and honest with them.
Okay.
Answering any questions they have in an age-appropriate way.
Yeah.
She also emphasizes that they have a very normal life away from the cameras.
Right. It's like creating that safe haven for them. You know, that space where they can just be kids away from the pressures and the scrutiny of the outside world.
Exactly. And it sounds like having her sister's kids around the same age really helps too.
Oh, totally.
You know, it gives them this built-in support system and like a shared experience.
Right.
They're not alone in navigating the unique challenges of growing up in the public eye.
Okay, this is a good one. What's the best advice Kim has ever received? Because, you know, she's probably got a lot of advice over the years.
The advice that resonated with her the most was surprisingly simple. Be present and make the most of your relationships. Because we're not here very long and we only get one life.
It's a reminder that time is our most precious resource.
It really is.
And that the relationships we cultivate are ultimately what matters most.
Absolutely. And she acknowledges that, you know, losing her father at a young age really made her mindful of time.
Yeah.
It made her realize how quickly life can change.
Totally.
And how important it is to cherish every moment.
It's something we can all take to heart, right? It really is.
Cherish time.
Time is a gift.
Yes.
And it's up to us to make the most of it.
Now for the flip side, what's the worst advice she's ever received? I'm sure there's been some doozies.
She says the worst advice is getting bogged down by too much advice, too many opinions.
Oh, yeah.
It's like everyone wants to tell you what to do, how to live your life.
It's that noise, that constant barrage of external input that can just like drown out our own inner voice.
Exactly. And she's learned that it's so important to trust your gut.
Yeah.
To do what you want to do, even if it means making mistakes.
It's about having the courage to follow your own path, even if it goes against the grain.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that failure is a part of the journey. It's how we learn and grow.
Okay, here's a fun one. If Kim had to restart her career tomorrow, what would you do? Because let's be real, she's got options.
She says she would be a lawyer and focus on that full time.
Mm-hmm.
She finds the feeling of being able to help people, to fight for justice, like really powerful and necessary. It's amazing to hear her talk about that passion for justice reform.
Yeah.
It clearly means a lot to her.
It does. And it shows how finding your purpose can really ignite a fire within you. You know?
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of direction,
Yeah.
a reason to get out of bed each morning and make a difference.
So we've talked about material things,
Mm-hmm.
but what's something Kim USC's D to value that she no longer feels is as important? Because it seems like her priorities have shifted significantly over the years.
She's very candid about this. She used to be all about designer items, the latest bags, the most exclusive
And
shoes.
now?
Now those things hold much less weight. She
Mhm.
talks about having to evacuate her home multiple times due to wildfires and how those experiences completely changed her perspective.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us can relate to the feeling of being attached to our possessions,
Sure.
even if they're not designer handbags.
So the first time she had to evacuate, she packed up every designer item she owned.
Mhm.
The second time, she left some behind. The third time, all the bags and shoes stayed put. And by the fourth time, all that mattered was her family and important documents.
Wow. That's a powerful evolution.
Right.
It really shows how external circumstances can shift our values, can make us realize what truly matters.
It's a stark reminder that in the face of true adversity, material possessions really lose their significance. What matters are the people we love, the memories we create, and the impact we make on the world.
So final question. If Kim could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be? Because this is where we get a glimpse into her core values.
She doesn't hesitate with this one. She says it would be a law that ensures second chances and fairness for everyone.
It's such a simple but profound idea, isn't it?
It is.
The power of a second chance, the importance of treating others with fairness and compassion.
Absolutely. And it speaks to Kim's, evolving sense of empathy, which has been a recurring theme throughout this interview.
It's like she's saying, let's raise the bar on how we treat each other. Let's create a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and given a fair shot.
And wouldn't that be amazing?
It would be revolutionary.
Yeah.
Now, going back to Kim's journey with justice reform, what internal changes did she experience as a result of that work? Because it seems like it's impacted her on a very deep level.
She talks about having to grapple with her own judgments.
Okay.
She admits to being judgmental in the past, especially towards people who are incarcerated. She made assumptions about their guilt without knowing the full story.
It's like she had to confront her own biases, her own preconceived notions about people who were different from her.
Exactly. And through that process, her level of empathy grew exponentially.
Wow.
She realized that everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And those stories often go untold,
Right.
especially within the justice system.
Which makes her advocacy even more powerful.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because it comes from a place of genuine understanding. She's not just speaking from a position of privilege. She's actually walked alongside people who have been directly impacted by the system.
Exactly. She's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk. And that authenticity makes her message all the more compelling.
Okay, let's talk about the comparison trap for a second.
Hmm.
Because, let's be real, Kim is constantly in the public eye,
Right.
surrounded by images of perfection.
Yeah.
Does she ever talk about dealing with, like, self-judgment or comparison?
It's interesting because she actually says that she's pretty easy on herself. She acknowledges that she's competitive, but in a way that motivates her rather than tears her down.
Wow, that's really impressive. I think a lot of us struggle with that inner critic, that voice that tells us we're not good enough, not pretty enough, not successful enough.
It's a common human experience, but Kim seems to have developed a healthy sense of self-acceptance,
Yeah.
which is something we can all learn from. It's about recognizing that we are all perfectly imperfect, and our flaws are part of what makes us unique and beautiful.
So true. Now, she talks about surrounding herself with people who have similar values. What does she mean by that? Because we all know that the people that we spend time with have a huge impact on our lives.
She values loyalty, hard work, and a positive mindset, and she seeks out those qualities in the people that she spends time with, whether it's friends, family, or even employees.
It's like she's intentionally creating a supportive and uplifting environment for herself.
Yeah.
She's surrounding herself with people who lift her up, who encourage her to be her best self.
Exactly. She understands the power of our social circles and the impact they have on our well-being.
And on the flip side, what does she say about dealing with people who don't share her values? Because let's be real, we all encounter those people from time to time.
Well, she's learned that you can't help people who don't want to be helped.
Right.
You can't force your beliefs on someone who doesn't share them.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best thing you can do is simply walk away.
That's a tough lesson to learn. But it's an important one.
It is.
Because we can't control other people's behavior. We can only control our own.
Exactly. And sometimes we have to let go of the need to control or change others and simply accept them for who they are.
So Kim talks about learning a lot from her own mom. What's the biggest lesson that she's trying to pass on to her kids? Because it seems like family is everything to her.
She admires her mom's warmth and her ability to create a space where everyone feels comfortable and appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to create that same sense of belonging for her own children,
Yeah.
a place where they feel loved and accepted unconditionally.
It's like that saying, home is where you are loved the most and judged the least.
Exactly. And it's about creating that feeling of belonging, not just for family, but for anyone who enters your life.
It's about radiating that warmth and acceptance.
Yes.
That makes people feel seen, heard, and valued.
Absolutely. And it's a powerful legacy to leave behind.
Now, Kim's been through a lot, both personally and professionally. Does she ever talk about wanting to find love again? Because it seems like she's really focused on herself and her kids right now.
She does. She says she'll always be a hopeless romantic and will always want to be in love.
Yeah.
But she's also being intentional about it. She's taking her time and being mindful of the people she lets into her life, especially with her kids involved.
It's about finding that balance between keeping her heart open to love
Yeah,
while also protecting herself and her family.
precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a wise approach because love is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But it's also important to be discerning
Yeah.
and to choose partners who are aligned with your values
Yes.
and who will enhance your life, not complicate it.
So Kim talks about letting go of material possessions, but what about letting go of dreams or ambitions? Does she touch on that at all? Because I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of, like, clinging to certain goals or aspirations,
Right.
even when they're no longer serving us.
She does, and she says something really insightful.
Okay.
It's okay to have, like, seemingly conflicting feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You can work hard toward a goal,
Yeah.
but also be okay with letting it go
Yeah.
if it's not serving you anymore.
It's like that idea of holding your dreams with an open hand.
Exactly. It's about being attached to the process, not just the outcome.
Right. It's about being open to the possibility that our path may change. And that's okay.
And sometimes letting go of a dream can actually open up space for something even more amazing to enter our lives.
Okay, we've talked a lot about compassion, empathy, and, giving second chances. But does Kim offer any specific advice for cultivating those qualities? Because it's one thing to talk about them, but it's another to actually put them into practice.
She doesn't give like a step-by-step guide,
Okay.
but she stresses the importance of being present
Yeah.
and really listening to people.
It's about going beyond, like, those surface-level interactions and really connecting with others on a deeper level.
Precisely. It's about seeing the humanity in everyone, even those who are different from us.
It's about putting down our phones, putting aside our judgments, and truly opening ourselves up to the experience of another human being.
And in a world that's increasingly divided, I think that's a really powerful message.
Kim mentions a few times that there are things her kids just won't understand until they're older.
Right.
What are some examples of, like, those life lessons?
Okay.
Because I think we can all relate to that feeling of looking back on our younger selves and thinking, oh, if only I knew then what I know now.
Totally. Well, she talks about the permanence of family.
Yeah.
It's not something that ends when you turn 18.
Right.
It's a lifelong commitment.
That's a perspective a lot of young people might not fully grasp until they've experienced it for themselves.
Exactly. And she also talks about the reality of parenting.
Oh, yeah?
It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are tantrums, sleepless nights, and moments where you feel like you're failing.
Right. It's so refreshing to hear her be so honest about those challenges. It really normalizes the struggles of parenthood.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even someone with seemingly unlimited resources still faces those same universal parenting hurdles.
It's a reminder that we're all in this together.
Exactly. And that there's beauty in the messiness of it all.
Kim also talks about wanting to be a good example for her kids. What are some of the ways she tries to do that? Because actions speak louder than words.
Right. They do. She shows them what it means to work hard and pursue your passions. They've seen her dedication to law school.
Yeah.
Even when she faced setbacks, they've seen her use her platform to advocate for causes she believes in.
It's like she's teaching them resilience and the importance of following your dreams, even when it's hard.
Precisely. And she also emphasizes the importance of being present and making time for family,
Right.
even with a demanding schedule.
It's about finding that balance between chasing your dreams and nurturing your relationships.
Exactly. It's a message that resonates far beyond the realm of celebrity.
Kim talks about her evolution when it comes to dealing with stressful situations. How has her approach changed over time
Okay.
because she's someone who's constantly in the spotlight,
Right.
dealing with pressure and scrutiny.
She used to be a people pleaser, making decisions based on other people's happiness, but in recent years, she's learned to prioritize her own well-being.
And what impact has that had on her life?
She says that once she started putting herself first, everything else fell into place.
Wow.
She describes it as the universe rewarding her for choosing herself.
It's like she's tapped into a new level of confidence and clarity.
Exactly. And it highlights the importance of self-care and setting boundaries, even if it means disappointing others.
Right. It's about recognizing that our needs are valid and that it's okay to say no.
It is. And it's about understanding that when we take care of ourselves, we're actually better equipped to take care of others.
Now, we've talked a lot about Kim's personal growth,
Hmm.
but does she ever offer any practical advice for those who are on a similar journey? Because I think a lot of people are looking for like tangible ways to cultivate more self-awareness,
Right.
more compassion, more purpose in their lives.
She emphasizes the importance of being still and not trying to please everyone. She encourages people to take a step back and figure out what truly makes them happy.
It's about tuning out the external noise and listening to that inner voice.
Exactly. It's about getting clear on your values and aligning your actions with them.
It's about living authentically, even if it means going against the grain.
Absolutely. And it's a journey, not a destination.
Kim's known for her business acumen. Does she share any insights into her work ethic or approach to success? Because she's built an empire.
She talks about the importance of giving your all to whatever you're doing, no matter how big or small the task may seem.
It's about bringing that same level of dedication and passion to every aspect of your work.
Precisely. And she also emphasizes the importance of being a lifelong learner, always seeking out new knowledge and experiences.
That's a great reminder that success is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. It's about constantly striving to grow and evolve.
Now, Kim is obviously a very successful woman, but does she ever talk about the challenges or downsides of fame? Because it's not all glitz and glamour, right?
No, it's not. She acknowledges that it can be difficult to navigate the constant scrutiny and lack of privacy. She talks about the pressure to always look perfect, to always be on.
And how does she cope with those challenges?
She emphasizes the importance of having a strong support system, family and friends who keep her grounded.
Yeah. It's like that saying, fame is a fickle friend. You need those genuine connections to stay anchored.
Exactly. It's about surrounding yourself with people who love you for who you are, not for your status or achievements.
Okay, let's talk about the power of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Kim has experienced a lot of ups and downs in her life. Does she ever talk about how those experiences have shaped her outlook?
She does. She talks about facing challenges head on and using them as opportunities for growth.
It's about adopting a mindset of resilience
Yeah,
and turning setbacks into stepping stones.
precisely. It's about recognizing that even the most difficult experiences can teach us valuable lessons.
It's about finding the silver lining, even in the darkest of clouds.
It is, and it's about remembering that we're all stronger than we think we are.
Now, Kim is known for her strong sense of family.
Yeah.
What does she say about the importance of those bonds? Because it's clearly a cornerstone of her life.
She emphasizes the importance of loyalty, respect, and showing up for each other.
It's about creating a circle of trust and support
Yes,
where everyone feels valued and loved.
exactly. It's about building those relationships that will stand the test of time.
Okay, we've talked a lot about what Kim has learned over the years,
Mm.
but does she ever offer any advice to her younger self?
Mm.
Because hindsight is 20/20, right?
She doesn't explicitly give advice to her younger self, but she does encourage people to embrace their journeys and learn from their mistakes.
It's about letting go of the need to be perfect
Yeah,
and allowing ourselves to grow and evolve over time.
precisely. It's about recognizing that our imperfections are part of what makes us unique and beautiful.
It's about embracing the journey with all its twists and turns.
Absolutely. And it's about remembering that we're all works in progress.
Now we can't talk about Kim Kardashian without talking about her style.
Right.
Does she ever offer any fashion advice or insights into her personal style? Because she's a trendsetter.
She talks about how her style has evolved over the years and how she's become more comfortable taking risks.
It's about finding what makes you feel confident
Yeah.
and expressing your individuality through your clothing choices.
Exactly. It's about using fashion as a form of self-expression, not just following trends.
It's about having fun with it and not taking it too seriously.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, fashion is a way to express ourselves, to have fun, and to feel good.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. What are some of the key takeaways from Kim's interview on the Jay Shetty podcast? Because it's been a fascinating conversation.
I think we've seen a side of Kim that's often overshadowed by her public persona, a woman who's thoughtful, compassionate, and deeply committed to her family and her work.
It's a reminder that there's always more to people than meets the eye.
Yeah.
Even those who live their lives in the public spotlight.
Absolutely. And her insights on personal growth, resilience, and the importance of human connection are universal and timeless.
So what does this all mean for our listener?
Whether or not you're a Kim Kardashian fan, her story offers valuable lessons on self-discovery, finding your purpose, and living a more intentional life.
It's a reminder that even someone who seems to have it all still faces challenges and is constantly evolving.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and striving to be the best version of ourselves.
It's about recognizing that we all have the power to create positive change in our lives and in the world around us.
Absolutely. And it all starts with taking that first step.
So what resonated with you most from Kim's interview? What insights or lessons will you take with you into your own life?
Share your takeaways on social media, and let's keep the conversation going, because the more we share our stories, the more we realize that we're not alone on this journey called life.
Yeah, it's inspiring to see how she's used her platform to advocate for change, and raise awareness about important issues like criminal justice reform.
It's a great example of how we can all use our unique talents and resources to make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah.
No matter how big or small our platform may be.
Totally. So whether or not you're a fan of reality TV or Keep Up with the Kardashians, there's a lot we can learn from Kim's journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Of self-discovery and growth.
It's a reminder that we all have the power to evolve and grow and, create a life that's aligned with our values.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing that Kim talked about.
Okay.
Finding that balance between the hustle and slowing down to appreciate life's simple pleasures.
Yeah. That's so important, isn't it? I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in the pursuit of achievement.
Right.
And forget to savor the little things. Those everyday moments that bring joy and meaning to our lives.
Exactly. And Kim seems to have found a way to do both. She's driven and ambitious, but she also values those moments of connection and presence with her loved ones.
Right.
Whether it's, blasting music on her solo drive or simply being present with her kids.
It's a reminder that success isn't just about those external accomplishments, It's also about cultivating a sense of inner peace and fulfillment. It's about finding that sweet spot between striving for our goals and appreciating the journey along the way.
And maybe, just maybe, it's about recognizing that true success lies in living a life that's aligned with our values, a life that's filled with love, purpose, and genuine connection. So tell me, what resonated with you most from Kim's interview? What will you carry with you?
It's been a fascinating deep dive. Kim's story, despite its extraordinary circumstances, offers, I think, relatable and inspiring insights, into the human experience. We all grapple with those questions about authenticity and purpose and, the pursuit of happiness. And perhaps her journey can serve as a reminder that we're not alone in our struggles and that even amidst the chaos of life, we can choose to prioritize what truly matters,
Yeah.
Connection, compassion, and living a life that feels authentically ours.
Beautifully said. And for our listener, we hope you walk away feeling inspired, motivated, and maybe even a little bit challenged to look inward and ask yourself, what changes can you make today to create a life that feels more aligned with your true self? What small steps can you take to cultivate more compassion, more presence, more joy in your everyday life? Let's keep this conversation going. Share your thoughts on social media and tag us. We're going to hear what resonated with you.